tenured professor, Julius Mentor. He rolled down the screen to show a film. Then he picked up a remote control, which he flicked at a projector at the back of the class. A full-face image of a comely French-Canadian reporter flashed on the screen. She was doing a live shot, and the chyron reflected, "Sin, Susan Lafarge reporting live." The professor looked at her and then nodded at the class. "My top former graduate student," he said, "got her master's and doctorate in 3 years. She speaks English, French, Spanish, Hebrew, and Arabic perfectly. She'd be the first to tell you that the word Israel means both he who fights alongside God and God is strong, God will triumph. She could have been on any elite faculty in the country with the research she did. She was that good. Now she's working for CIN, SIN." He said this with a mixture of pride and regret in his voice. Pride, because he was proud of what she had accomplished and because she was in the public eye. Regret, because of what she could have meant both to the academic community and to him. Julius and Suzanne were both looking straight ahead. There was no mistake about it. They were the two terrorists from the White House lawn. Chapter 2, Grand-Mamie Agnès, Stanford University Cafeteria, 7 weeks earlier. He was late. "A man always waits for the woman, not the other way around," Suzanne thought as she stared forlornly at her enormous empty cappuccino cup gone cold for at least 10 minutes now. And it had taken her another 10 to order it and sip it slowly. "Un chevalier ne fait jamais attendre sa dame," her great-grandmother used to whisper to her. "A knight never keeps his lady waiting." This was her great-grandmother, Grand-Mamie Agnès, Agnes, who was born near the end of the 19th century and was very wise. She had basically brought Suzanne up because the children's parents had to work long hours to make ends meet. Grand-Mamie Agnès taught Suzanne all she knew outside of school, where Suzanne was a straight-A student. Suzanne had always earned top grades, or marks, or so they were called in Canada, in all her subjects. She was always curious to learn more. She was a teacher's dream. "And I still am," she said to herself in French, because that was what Grand-Mamie Agnès used to tell her. "You're a teacher's dream, chérie." "So why am I sitting here waiting for this guy? I should have left by now," she asked herself again, looking at her watch. But then she rationalized that he wasn't just some guy, but her esteemed professor, Julius Mentor. Grand-Mamie Agnès always made her feel good because she told Suzanne she was special and smart and intelligent, and the list of superlatives seemed to go on forever in her mind about how great she was. Psychologically, she developed an inner confidence from one very wise old woman. Suzanne never needed to boast. She was entirely self-confident, and this was the greatest gift Grand-Mamie Agnès could have given her. She remembered sitting by the fire on those cold Montreal nights, listening to Grand-Mamie read her everything she could find from age 3 until she had turned 9. Grand-Mamie had started with the classic fairy stories. Then she graduated to all the tales of the Arabian Nights. Grand-Mamie Agnès had a very eclectic taste and had nurtured this in her great-granddaughter. Grand-Mamie was a strict Catholic who read her Bible stories over and over again until Suzanne knew each one by heart. As for most children lost in the wonder of storytelling, the absurdity of some of the stories did not bother the young French Canadian. It was perfectly believable for Jesus to walk on the water or to produce loaves and fishes to feed the poor. It was also natural for the Red Sea to part before the children of Israel, or for the world to have been built in 7 days and 7 nights. Grand-Mamie had been a physicist during her career, as well as a great student of the relationship between religion, science, and politics. Consequently, it was perfectly natural for her to speak to her young progeny as if she were an adult, and to remind her that there was no dichotomy between hard science and strong religious belief. On the contrary, she encouraged her great-granddaughter to always look for the relationship between the two. She would learn to understand how religion provided a moral framework for and link between the hard sciences and politics. Before long, Suzanne began to develop her own tastes in reading. She started to devour spy story after spy story in both English and French, and she was only 9 years old. She avidly read the great French writer Georges Simenon. He was her favorite, but she also liked John le Carré and Raymond Chandler in English. When Suzanne asked her grand-mamie why she spent so much time with her, grand-mamie Agnès said, "Because you're worth it, and I enjoy myself with you. Your peers and brothers don't want to listen to me. They think that I'm an old bat from last century. They'd rather go out and ski, play hockey, or socialize in cafes." "I like to ski too, grand-mamie." "I know, ma chérie, and you have to be careful and not hurt yourself. You don't want to spoil your beauty." "Ah, Suzanne, with your big brown eyes, when you look up at me with wonder, I want to hug and squeeze you to bits. You're more beautiful than any of those princesses in the fairy tales I've read to you. And you've got something more. You're incredibly bright." "I'm not bright, grand-mamie." "Unfortunately, you are." "But why do you say unfortunately?" "Because in today's world, smart women sometimes finish last." "Why do you say that, grand-mamie?" "Because there are so many jealous people out there, ugly in soul and body. They are ignorant, ignorant, the women just as much as the men. And their worst fault, their mediocrity. They are boxed in by it. They have no imagination, no daring. They are envious of girls like you who have it all that they don't have. And let's not talk about the men," the grandmother continued. "Already the boys in your school are starting to tease you because you're so smart. You're not some intellectual ugly duckling, but rather a girl swan with the mind of a genius." "You really think that, grand-mamie? You're embarrassing me." "And the boys don't know what to do with that. They're attracted by your beauty and overwhelmed by your mind, so some will be afraid of you." "So what should I do, grand-mamie? Disfigure myself?" "Of course not, my dear. Be neither the shrinking violet nor the serpent under the flower, as Lady Macbeth would put it. And sometimes you will have to be very aggressive with your voice, your body, your mind, and at others you will feign a passive defense. I am confident you are tough enough and smart enough and up to the task." "Why are you telling me all this, grand-mamie?" "I'm just warning you to be careful. There will be lots of guys after you. Choose the right guy. Promise me never to waste your time with losers. Obviously, you need to be wary of the dumbo. Dumbo, there you go. But be wary of the other side of the coin, too. Just because someone is ugly or clumsy does not mean he is smart or intelligent. He could be dumber, or worse, jealous and spiteful." "I'm too young, grand-mamie. You're talking about finding a husband?" "Seriously, if you can find a genuine intellectual who's nice to you, don't let him go. Hopefully, he'll be easy on your eyes as well." Within 6 months of that time, a few weeks after Suzanne had turned 10, grand-mamie Agnès died, the victim of a vicious stomach cancer. Suzanne felt her eyes water as she saw herself snuggled next to grand-mamie Agnès in her old clothes by the fire only 16 years earlier. However, she suddenly left the past and grabbed a tissue to dab her eyes. She wouldn't want to meet a professor like this. This concludes chapter 2 of the BAJA Redemption. We only have a couple of minutes left. To read the complete versions of Terry's Upside and the BAJA Redemption and/or other works, please go to richardbonte.com and click on Purchase Books Now. This is Richard Bonte. So I'd like to thank our guests for being on Curmudgeonly Yours today. And please, if you like what you heard, send me an email to richard@richardbonte.com. And if you didn't, please keep your comments to yourself. Remember, this is Richard Bonte and Curmudgeonly Yours on Society Bites Radio, where everything is what it seems, nothing is what it seems, and what is not said is often of most interest.